So, I know that I did make a promise that these streams would be day after day, but things, I was kind of busy the last few days, so that's the reason why the stream from Tuesday was condensing both those days, and this stream was going to be just the same. Anyway, with that said, hello and welcome to the penultimate in the last day of this virtual camp trip. It should be noted that it's already nighttime here, but I'm still gonna do what I originally planned, which was going to the lake. Yeah, so we have Alamo Sea here, and I'm gonna go ahead and spawn in a boat.
Hello, this is Pegasus Lifestyle Management. How can I help? Great.
I'll do the
Sir, I'm
traffic.
happy to say it's now ready for you at our nearest harbor.
Wait. Oh. Yeah, so this is meant to represent the lake activities that we had at the camp. It should be noted that the only reason why us campers would be on the boat is if we were riding one of the inflatables there. So they had the banana boat and an airhead, which if you've been to a Walmart and you've seen one of those, you know what I mean. But the banana boat was an inflatable uh, flotation device that worked um, in a really cool way. So it was naturally top heavy, meaning that the center of gravity was at the top of the boat, which is weird because the base of the boat, obviously was wider than the top of the boat, which looked, as expected, like a banana. So, um, they had a jet ski set up with the airhead because that's obviously the lighter of the two. But for the airhead, no, not airhead, the banana boat, um, it was a actual like full size boat, like the one I'm showing you here. That's yeah. Um, so yeah, I know it's nighttime now, but what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a singular lap around the Alamo Sea, aka like Hudson in this case, and from there we'll head straight to the chapel. Of course, I'll explain in third-person dialogue. So, lake activities were awesome. You have, the banana boat and the airhead inflatable that I just mentioned. They also had canoes, which was pretty cool. And they weren't even that hard to use either, because it was a group of us using them, because they had multiple canoes. But then we had an inflatable trampoline that floated in the lake. And then we also had something called the block. But probably my favorite thing from the lake was probably a slide that they had that was pretty similar to another slide they had at the swimming pool, which was called the Wet Willy. Which I know nowadays, like as an adult, when you think of Willy, you think of a joke about someone's member. I'll just say that much without YouTube getting on my butt. But the name is also, you know, if you're a kid, then it's a reference to something that a bully might do. You know, the wet willy. They just stick a wet finger into your ear. But we're talking about the kid-friendly one. So that's what the wet willy is. But the slide was similar in functionality to a water slide that was at the swimming pool called the Bullet, which I forgot to talk about the swimming pool and the water slides. The swimming pool back whenever I went, up until like several years ago, it was a rectangular pool. It was a fairly good sized pool too. It wasn't like long ways, and it wasn't a weird shape. It was rectangular. But on both ends of the pool, you had two water slides. So on the end of the pool that was closest to the entrance to the swimming pool area, you had a really tall slide, which was known as the Hurricane by many people. And then you had the slightly smaller, like, not smaller, but there was a shorter slide called the Bullet, which, hence the name, you went down really fast. In fact, I remember that vividly because whenever I went on that slide, that was in 2006. So that was whenever I was 9 years old. I was too scared to go on that slide that first year because I mistakenly thought that my friends and people screaming when they went down the slide were that they were scared. But it was, you know, cheers of joy. You know, like they were happy, they were excited, stuff like that. And so, yeah. Um, so it wasn't until the following year, so that would be the second year that I went, that actually won the bullet. But all the other slides I did go on, including the Hurricane, which that was called that because it started off with a slight dip to give you some speed before immediately having you hang a left on a loop. There would be another straightaway with another dip to give you a little bit more speed, and then there was a right loop, and then it would lead directly into the drop-off point where you get dumped into the pool. The bullet was a sudden drop-off style uh, slide, so there weren't any turns or anything like that. You just shot straight down like a bullet, hence the name. Made a giant splash. But then on the other end of the pool, there were the um, people called them the twins. So you had the left loop and the right loop, and so they were either called the twin loops or just the twins because they were basically the same thing but mirrored from each other. So you had one slide that just looped to the left before dropping off into the pool, and then the other one was looping to the right. And those slides were actually meant for the younger kids, which it's worth noting that because of the erroneous stream from last year, the one where I thought, why am I making another one? As I was saying, because of the fact that I made that stream last year, which turned out to be incorrect, where I said that I went in 2004, when it was actually 2005, making this year the 20th anniversary, not last year, um, that meant I was 8 years old when I first went. So I was already big enough to ride the bigger slides, but I chose to ride all three, like all of them except the Bullet. I didn't ride the Bullet until the following year, after I found out, oh, it's not as scary as I thought. Like, it's actually really nice. Also, uh, we were we were just talking about the jet ski. Yeah, they had a Sea-Doo or some kind of jet ski that towed the airhead. And a boat like this was used for the banana boat because it was a bigger boat, and as such, it had more horsepower and a lot more towing capability. Um, so yeah. Um, After that, we went on with the usual other activities, had snack, then dinner at some point, and then we, went to the town hall as I know it now. It was called the town hall. Everyone called it the chapel because it was still somewhat of a church. So yeah. All right, campers. So it looks like tomorrow you guys are going to be going home. So, because of that, you have one last night of night activities before leaving for home tomorrow. But we hope you enjoyed your time here at Dry Gulch. And tomorrow you're going to be getting something special from us. So, hope you're prepared. And in the meantime, when y'all get back to your cabins, pack up everything that you have, and that way, whenever you're ready to leave, everything will already be accounted for. And yeah, I'll take care. Oh man, we have to go back home tomorrow? I mean, you guys are staying just for 5 days, so you guys are going home tomorrow. Sure, you're gonna miss this place. Hey, don't worry. I'm sure you're gonna be coming over for a few more years. Yeah, it's just I didn't want this to end. Yeah, it's alright though. It'll be fine. Important thing is you had fun and made a lot of friends. Yeah, nothing to worry about. I guess you're right. Yep. Here's y'all's Capri Sun. It's time to go to sleep. Alright, campers, it's time to get up. I got breakfast, and then y'all got chapel. It's time to go home. We're gonna miss y'all. You're wondering why I was singing that? That's actually what happened the first year that I went, was, someone had their alarm clock, or it was something, it might have been their phone or something, which you have to understand, this was in an age before smartphones became prevalent. So, um, yeah, I heard someone go like their phone was like dun 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 you know, something like that. So hopefully I don't get in trouble with the algorithm or anything. Yeah. Our breakfast for the day that we left was actually a lot different. It was one of those to-go cereal cup things that you get at stores like Dollar General or Dollar Tree or something like that. Um, but all of the days that we had breakfast, including the day that we left, um, we had these little cup things that was like frozen juice, but
Hello,
we ate it
Pegasus
sort of like
Lifestyle Management.
one of
How can I
those like
help
frozen
you?
treat things.
So your specialty vehicle is available for collection right now. We hope you're very happy, sir.
Hmm. Someone over there? Oh, well, that's not too bad. So after we ate breakfast, we went to the town hall, or the chapel, depending on what you want to call it. Everyone called it the chapel, but no one actually knew the name of it except for the counselors, which then again, I didn't hear any other fellow campers asking what the actual name of the building was. It's just that everyone just collectively called it the chapel because, as we all know, chapel is another name for a church. And that was basically the church. Um, so, yeah. Um, yeah. It's a whole. Yeah. Alright, campers. Looks like today is the day that you go home. But before y'all go, we've got some special t-shirts for you guys to represent the stuff that you've seen, the things you've done. Of course, the theme of the camp for this year. Just ask me, I know. And after the theme song that we have. So, if y'all please grab one. Um, this was actually the reason why on the sign-up sheet that your parents or guardians signed up, they had to sign in what shirt size you wear. So that way, you wouldn't get it incorrect. That said, that's about all from the Dean Meister, and you all take care and have a safe trip home. From there, it just became a simple trip to the bus. Uh, they already had golf carts pick up our bags and take them to the buses, I'm pretty sure. I might be wrong on that, but you have to remember I'm trying to remember something from 20 years ago, which I already have like really good memories, so it's not that I have amnesia or something. It's just simply that, it's hard to remember something when it was that long ago. So, yeah. Let's see if there's like a vehicle I could use, which I know that the only vehicle I really used at summer camp was, they had go-karts, but those were on go-kart tracks, which is why 2 days ago when I was doing the day 2 and day 3 stream, I was just driving around in the go-kart around the airfield, is that would be the most suitable idea for a go-kart track. Oh yeah, there were also horses, but those aren't really vehicles. Those are actual animals. I know there's a golf cart. But they also had bumper cars at some point. I think that was like the following year that I went, which that was awesome. I loved the like I already loved the go-karts, but the bumper cars were fun too. Yeah, counselors had golf carts that they used that allowed them to travel to and fro. So that was cool.
What in the world?
It's good for that guy. But yeah, so I think there was a golf cart somewhere. I was going to use that as a reference to what the counselors and church staff use to get around, but it's obviously not showing up. It did earlier, but it showed up over here. They didn't have ATVs, I know
Come to
that
my
much.
barbecue tomorrow. Right on. What are you fucking looking at? Hey, I'm sorry. Piece of shit. Fuck
Alright, trying to find it. Yeah, far over there. Where could it be? I'll just walk there. But yeah, so after the final morning chapel service, just got to our buses after we got our bags and stuff, and then we headed home. Which, as you can see, the bus is all the way over there, which really Rockstar. Out of all the places you get to put it, just put it right over there. Like, wow, clever. But yeah. Anyway, so I had to say though, whenever I first left from Dry Gulch to go home, it was really depressing because I absolutely loved every moment of being there. It was like, yeah, I get it, kids have it easy, that's what they all say. And especially back when I was in elementary school, we didn't have the thing that kids have now, where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, irresponsible parents included. Like, back then, irresponsible parents were like not common at all. Like, you'll hear about it every now and again, but it wasn't commonplace. In fact, like, there wasn't a waking moment where I met a parent who was like awesome, like super super nice. I had like tons of friends back then. Like I loved every second of my childhood, even if there were a few lows for me. Like I did get in trouble quite a bit sometimes, but that was partially because of the fact that at the time I didn't know about my mental condition and how to, make sure that I behave well. So, there's the bus right over there. Unless, Pegasus is like, sorry. You're not gonna do that. Got some deer here. Oh, there it is. Yep, I see it. But, yeah. But, I did find out not long after coming home that I would be going to Dry Gulch the following year, and then again, and then again, and then the final time in 2009. But I have to say though, like, leaving for the first time from Dry Gulch to go home was pretty depressing, because, like, at the time, like, it was the coolest place I'd ever been to. And so, whenever I got on that bus and joined my friends, after we got our bags all stowed away in the cargo bay, which, if you don't know what I mean by the cargo bay, it's those three doors just below the middle seats that have the handles on them. That's what the cargo bay is. And that's where we put our sleeping bags, our actual luggage. So whether you had a suitcase or a duffel bag or whatever spacious kind of like durable bag you could use to carry around your clothing, whatever else you brought over, like, toothbrush, toothpaste, all that stuff, all that jazz. Uh, and of course, any pillows that you brought with you. But, yeah, after that, we stopped by the registration booth thing that would check in buses to check out our buses. Letting them know, hey, it's time for us to leave. And, from there, we just headed home. Of course, just like with the first day of the trip, we watched movies and stuff on the bus, but I don't really remember much about that. Only the trips to camp. In fact, the first trip, because it was so special and so memorable, even though there are some things I'm glossing over and forgetting, but again, trying to remember stuff from 20 years ago isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. But yeah, so um, say though, even just making this stream series was a lot of fun to plan out, even if it didn't play out exactly as I was planning, because I got swamped a few times in terms of what I had to do. And so, even doing these streams, like like I said, I wanted to do this on a daily basis. But the problem was that I was going to be very busy with certain things in my life, especially on Monday when I couldn't get around to doing a stream at all because I was busy with like multiple things at once, but I already talked vaguely about that. But here we are, and ironically enough, today would actually be the day that we would go home on the trip because like I said, I don't know if it was this week or next week that would actually be the 20th anniversary, but I'm going off of this week because it just seems right to me that it probably was mid-June because that was when my first trip was in June, and the subsequent visits were all in July. I think. But anyway, so as we got onto the freeway, not freeway, but the interstate from camp, because on the way to camp and on the way home, there was this long stretch of road that we would get on as the first part of the trip if we're going home, and the final part of the trip if we're getting the dry gulch. And it was an 8.5 stretch of road. Well, not 8.5. It was an 8.5 mile stretch of road, which we all call it dry gulch road. But ironically enough, there actually was a dry gulch road along that same road. And that was the little street that we turned onto or left from that led to the registration booth. And so, yeah. But, yeah, so this return trip home will just be the route to the church from there. So there's not going to be any big fancy stops or anything like that. Because nothing really much memorable happened on the trip home. Although I will give out a little bit of trivia. Something that I consistently did across all 5 years that I went was on the day that we were going to Dry Gulch, we would always stop at McDonald's for lunch. And that was considered the halfway point. And I actually looked this up recently on Google, and as it turns out, the amount of time it would take to get to that place from church would be, I believe it was 2 hours and 2 minutes, I think. And so what happened was, just after we got on the highway, we watched movies, and the first thing that we watched was, I believe, the Looney Tunes stuff. Like, we had a DVD of Looney Tunes cartoons, and, as someone who loved watching those as a kid with their mom, back whenever I was a baby, up until I reached around 4 years old. That was a lot of fun. And after that, we just watched. It might have been Toy Story 2. I don't remember. All I know is that Toy Story 2 has a runtime of an hour and a half, which was the going rate back then for movies. And so I believe that the Looney Tunes DVD was at least an hour, or something along those lines. Because after we watched that, then we watched Toy Story 2, and we couldn't quite finish the movie by the time we reached Durant, Oklahoma, which was where the McDonald's was. In fact, when we entered the city, there was an exit ramp that we took in order to get to McDonald's, which this was back whenever they didn't look like they were having a midlife crisis, so that iconic red and yellow roof was the thing that drew us in. But anyway, so getting back to McDonald's, speaking of which, on the day that we were going to camp across all 5 years, all 5 years that I went, I would always get the M&M McFlurry. That wouldn't have happened if that truck had moved. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, as I was saying, what the heck that was. Oh, I just damaged the indicator. Here. I would get the M&M McFlurry because of the fact that it represented my happiness, because it's full of color, and if something is full of color, that represents happiness and other positive emotions. On the day going home, however, I got the Oreo McFlurry because it being devoid of color, although it still tasted really good. I love both McFlurries equally. Although I do like the M&M McFlurry just a little bit more because of how symbolic it was of me going to camp. But the Oreo McFlurry, I'm not saying I hate the Oreo McFlurry because obviously both of them taste really freaking good. But the reason why I got it on the day that I was going home is because since it had very little color, it represented how sad I was whenever I had to go home. Yeah, pretend I didn't hit that car. I totally did. And so, after that, we got back on our way home, and I have to say, it was a pretty somber experience for someone like me, because, at the time, since it was my first time going, I wasn't told if I was going to be going back. It's not like I got in trouble and couldn't go back. It's just that, since it was my first time going, no one told me, oh, hey, you're going to be going next year. And so, whenever I went again the following year, I noticed that it was a pattern. And so, unknowingly, in 2009, the last year that I went, I said, I'll see you guys next time. Not knowing that that was actually going to be the final time I'd be going. And it's sad because there was an age range, there was an age restriction kind of thing, where, not restriction, but it was it was the age range of 7 to 12. So, the thing is, 2004 would have been the first year that I would have went. But here's the thing. There was a deadline that my church had to sign up for camp, and I think that was a universal deadline for all the other churches that were applying to go. And so if someone didn't get signed up at a certain time, then they wouldn't be able to go. The thing is, the deadline for going to camp was, I believe, a week before my birthday or somewhere along those lines. And so by the time I turned old enough to go for the first time, I wasn't able to because of the fact that the deadline had already passed, and so I had to wait until the next year when I was 8 years old. So, yeah, last year, like I said, was an erroneous stream. So it was a stream that, in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have made because it felt like I was being misleading. But at the time, I didn't realize that 2004 wasn't the first year that I went, that was 2005. But anyway, yeah, so we're back at church. And that concludes multi this multi-day series, and a way to pay tribute to a place that, while it still exists, it just doesn't have that same name.
Maybe I'm gonna find a
Thank you
Kafgari
very much
diamond
for
right on the street
watching.
today. You never know
I
what
hope
the
you've
day
enjoyed
brings.
this. If you did, then like,
Whatever.
comment, subscribe, all that jazz. You don't have to do
Well,
all of
that's
that stuff, but it
contagious.
would be appreciated. And
I'm
yeah,
so sorry. See you
thank
at
you
the
very
funeral.
much, and I will see y'all at a later point in time, back to our regularly scheduled program. And yeah, catch you later.